What's up, EFD, and welcome back to Scout Report. With the current transfer window reaching its peak, let's take a look at 5 clubs who need to be turning around their squads the most. 5. Southampton. The last 2 seasons have seen Southampton drop off considerably in the Premier League, finishing 16th in 2018-19 and 17th the previous year, a far cry from their comfortable establishment in the top 8 under Mauricio Pochettino and Ronald Koeman. When Ralph Hasenhüttl was hired in December 2018, the club were level on points with Fulham and 1 behind Huddersfield, having won just once in 15 games. So the club's turnaround since the Austrians' arrival has been pretty remarkable. The Saints' woeful 18.5 win percentage under Mark Hughes has transformed to 32% with Hasenhüttl in charge, achieved by an improvement in style of play and hard-fought victories over top 6 opposition, something the club's 3 previous managers failed to do. But for a club with clear top half ambitions and a former RB Leipzig manager at the helm, there is still a lot of work to do. While the imminent offloading of Cedric Suarez and Sofiane Boufal has been sorted by the emergence of Jan Valery and the signing of Moussa Djenepo from Standard Liège, the striker position remains a big problem. A headache for Southampton fans for some time now, no player has hit double figures in all competitions, let alone in the league, since Sadio Mane in 2016. While the acquisition of Danny Ings has generally been a positive one, with the former Liverpool striker creating 1.5 chances a game and firing off 3 shots per 90, he hasn't scored in the league in 2019. However, he still ended the campaign tied as the club's top scorer in the Prem, along with James Ward-Prowse on 7, the worst record of any top scorer at a non-relegated club. One option being looked at is Birmingham City's Che Adams. The 22-year-old contributed to 26 goals in the Championship last term, an impressive return in a side which finished the season 17th. An alternative could be Jean-Kevin Augustin, a player Hasenhüttl worked with at Leipzig and who struggled for game time in 2018-19, despite contributing to a goal every 91 minutes the previous season. Sign one of these players plus a right winger and Southampton could be a very exciting team to watch come the new season. But with a mid-table stronger than ever, Hasenhüttl will still find it difficult to break out of the bottom half. Before we move on to our next section, if you haven't already, please subscribe to Euro Football Daily for more great videos such as this and Stat Wars too. 4. Roma. It's fair to say that the 2018-19 campaign was one to forget for fans of Roma. The Italian giants finished outside of the Serie A top 3 for the first time since 2013, when they also came 6th, were knocked out of the Champions League by Porto, and suffered a 7-1 humiliation at the hands of Fiorentina in the Coppa Italia. Eusebio Di Francesco also fielded a worryingly old team during the season, with 4 of the club's top 5 appearance makers all 30 or above. Meanwhile, 22 players were sent out on loan, the majority of whom were under 24 years old. Clearly, the Giallorossi are in need of rejuvenation under new manager Paulo Fonseca, who has a short amount of time to shape the squad in his image, following the controversial departures of captain Daniele De Rossi and director Francesco Totti. The most obvious place to start is Edin Dzeko. The Bosnian striker looks to be on his way to Inter Milan, with a deal yet to be agreed at the time of recording. And it's just as well. He contributed to a goal every 170 minutes in 2018-19, around the same as Man City's David Silva, and a huge drop-off from his astounding 80-minute average 2 seasons previous. And while XG suggests he should have got 15 league goals instead of 9, the Bosnian striker turns 34 next year. A new focal point for the attack is needed. Patrick Schick could be the man to step up. Despite scoring just 5 league goals in his 2 years at the Stadio Olimpico, the technically gifted Czech centre-forward is still only 23. Given the minutes, he could well recapture the form that saw him notch up a strike every 137 minutes for Sampdoria in 2016-17. And while the area where Roma are ageing the most is in defence, all of the team's regular back 4 in 2018-19 were 28 or over, with top appearance maker Alexander Kolarov turning 34 this year. The position where the club have experienced the biggest drop-off in quality is in goal. Signed from Copenhagen in 2018 following an impressive World Cup with Sweden, Robin Olsen couldn't match up to his predecessor Alisson, as Roma suffered their worst defensive campaign in 6 years. The 29-year-old made just 2 saves per goal conceded, compared with the Brazilian's astounding 3.8 the previous season, and by April had been dropped. However, his 35-year-old replacement Antonio Mirante cannot be a long-term option. The club should instead look at Cagliari's Alessio Cragno, who made 2.8 saves per goal conceded last season, and at just 25, could hold down the position for at least the next 6 years. However, with a new contract signed at the Sardinian club and a value of €20 million, Roma will have to cough up decent money. It could be well worth it though. 3. Burnley. Sean Dyche has been Burnley manager for nearly 7 years now, in which time the Lancashire club has achieved promotion to the Premier League twice and defied the odds to stay in the English top flight for the past 3 seasons. However, if the Clarets want to prolong their stay further, they will need to renew their ageing squad, which at nearly 28 years was the second oldest in the division behind Watford in 2018-19. And it's no surprise given the club have only signed one player under the age of 24 on a permanent in the last 3 years. Left-back Charlie Taylor, who was bought from Leeds in 2017. In that time, Dyche has acquired 9 players over the age of 30, 5 of whom are still at the club, with the most notable example being Peter Crouch, who turns 39 next year. And with results on the field taking a significant hit, the side are certainly in need of rejuvenation. Burnley finished on 40 points in 2018-19, a 14-point drop-off from their impressive campaign the previous year, and furthermore, they finished with a -23 goal difference, compared to -3 in 2017-18, despite scoring 45 goals, their biggest ever tally in the Prem. Midfield is clearly an issue, with Stephen Defoe either injured or out of favour for much of the season, and Jack Cork, who played more minutes than anyone bar Ben Mee, stumping up just 2.2 tackles and interceptions per 90. Not a great barrier for the defence of a team who give up nearly 60% possession every game. But there is one man flying the flag for youth at Turf Moor, Dwight McNeil, who after breaking into the starting 11 at the turn of the year contributed to 8 goals in the league, 18% of the team's total output for the entire season, at a rate of a goal involvement every 200 minutes, better than Leicester's James Maddison at 203. With Dyche having already put large amounts of the funds raised from Burnley's Premier League status into the infrastructure of the club to ensure its long-term stability, perhaps he should start applying the same philosophy to the transfer market. 2. Inter Milan. Inter Milan have qualified for the Champions League for the second successive season, the first time they've done so since 2011, carrying on a slow resurgence which has seen some commentators tout them as Juve's biggest rivals in the long term. And with Serie A specialist Antonio Conte now at the helm, the club's credentials have taken a further boost, but there is still a lot of work to do. Despite finishing 4th last season, the Nerazzurri were exposed at points, losing 4-1 to rivals Atalanta and Napoli, and in total lost 9 games, the joint most in the top 7. Giuliano Spalletti ended the season sacked, Mauro Icardi was stripped of his captaincy midway through the campaign, and no player scored more than the Argentinians' 11 in the league. That's Icardi's worst goals return in 5 years, and the lowest tally managed by an Inter top scorer since 1995. The team are still too reliant on the troublesome striker, and with his future in the balance at the time of recording, an instant replacement is likely needed. The most obvious option is Romelu Lukaku, who is out of favour at Man United and has been long admired by manager Conte. Despite a disappointing second season at Old Trafford, the Belgian striker's Premier League record remains excellent, with 113 goals in 252 appearances since his debut in 2011. For context, only Sergio Aguero and Harry Kane have scored more in the English top flight in that time, although his average of 0.45 goals a game is comfortably bettered by Icardi's record of 0.55. Furthermore, Inter will have to break the bank, with United asking for €80 million and the Football Observatory valuing him at over €90 million. And while we focused on the striker position here, there are also other areas in need of renewal. Ivan Perisic, the club's second top scorer for the last 4 seasons, turned 30 this year, and Radja Nainggolan and Borja Valero, 2 of Spalletti's most prominent midfielders last term, are 31 and 34 respectively. And while Nainggolan contributed to 9 goals from attacking midfield, it was hardly value for the €38 million which brought him to the San Siro from Roma, especially when the deal paved the way for wonderkid Nicolo Zaniolo to head in the other direction. If Inter are to challenge for Scudetti in years to come, they must not make these same mistakes in the transfer market. 1. Atletico Madrid. Unlike the other clubs on this list, Atletico Madrid's overhaul is well underway. Diego Simeone is facing perhaps his biggest summer of upheaval since being hired by the club in 2011. Atleti legends Diego Godin and Juanfran are both leaving the Spanish capital, having amassed 744 appearances between them for Los Rojiblancos. Meanwhile, attacking talisman Antoine Griezmann sees his release clause drop to €120 million in July, with Barcelona expected to take advantage. However, these exits present a golden opportunity for Simeone to blood a new generation of young talent in these areas of the squad. Godin and Juanfran are 33 and 34 respectively, while Griezmann turns 29 next year, which makes his buyout fee pretty inflated, and their planned reinvestment of the funds in João Felix not quite as silly as some are making out. However, the Portuguese youngster can't solve the club's deficiencies on his own. Atleti finished the season with 76 points, their lowest return since 2012, conceded 29, the most since 2013, and scored just 55 goals, their worst output in a full season since Simeone took over. Top scorer Griezmann notched up just 15 strikes in the league, and crucially the next best was Alvaro Morata with 6, laying bare the club's faltering counter-attack. However, despite the Frenchman suffering his lowest scoring season in a red and white jersey, his 9 assists meant he contributed to 44% of the team's total output. While João Felix's highly impressive debut season for Benfica saw him match those kind of numbers with 27 goal involvements across the Liga NOS and Europa League, it's a very tall order for him to replicate that kind of form in a far superior league at just 19. Back to the defence, while Santiago Arias and a returning Simo Vishalko will cover Juanfran's absence on the right, and Godin's departure can be offset for now by the arrival of Felipe from Porto, the big money sale of Luca Hernandez spells a desperate need for reinforcement on the left. Junior Firpo of Real Betis would be the ideal man for the fullback slot, turning just 23 this year. He averages 2.9 tackles and interceptions a game, which despite being some way off Hernandez's 4, is perhaps more impressive given Betis average over 62% possession a game and Atleti less than 50. Even if this transfer were to happen, however, more cover is still needed in the centre. And considering the activities of Barca and Real, we expect it will take at least another 2 windows before Simeone can think about mounting a serious title challenge again. So those were our 5 clubs in need of an overhaul, but can you name any more? I'm sure you can. Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, why not hit that subscribe button, obviously, and check out the video that's on screen right now. See you later.